We are Team Geek Squad with the graduation planner application for the CS department. Our client/advisor is Dr. Schwing. And so this is Marvin Evans. He will be our UI lead and database lead. He'll be ensuring that user interfaces are usable and consistent across all platforms, as well as leading up the maintenance of the database and ensuring consistency. I'm Terrence Sanford, client liaison and documentation lead. So I'll be ensuring consistency and quality with writing up the iteration reports and also the documentation of the product or the project. I'll also be heading up the meetings with the client, ensuring we communicate our ideas efficiently so that he ends up getting the product that he's looking for. And then Derek Whittam, our testing lead and quality assurance lead, heading up testing, ensuring that code written is testable and that all code written is tested. He'll also be leading up quality assurance, which would be monitoring code commits, managing the repository, and monitoring code quality, etc. So I'll pass it off to him for the briefing.
So the graduation planner is a system designed to allow the advisors of the computer science department in conjunction with the students to create and manage the graduation plans. Our presentation is going to be broken up into a couple sections. The first one is going to be the real world problem and the solution, a little more in depth than what I just said. We're going to talk about the project requirements, the demonstration of our application as it is right now, and we're going to discuss the quality assurance and risk assessments. So for the real world problem, I'd like to hand it off to Marvin Evans.
All right, so the real world problem is that the graduation planner requires you to, our software is a graduation planner. It creates a graduation planner through software instead of having to manually go to sit down advising every quarter. I'm sure everyone here has had sit down advising. Although this method does work, we feel that our software is a great way to not only be very efficient and also manage student progress. We provide a solution the moment that a student creates an account. He creates an account, he sees a questionnaire. The questionnaire asks him a few simple questions. Some of those questions include, are you a transfer student? What classes have you taken? How many credits per quarter are you willing to take? We also understand the importance of editing. We want to be able to edit our plans very quickly. The paper-based format makes it very hard for you to be able to edit plans. Overall, advising is much more accessible this way because you can do the same type of task that you can do without meeting face-to-face. Next, I'll give it to Derek to identify our process model.
So we're going to be using agile methods. We're using Jira for project management. We're using an iterative development style where we meet once a week and produce our minor versions over the course of a code sprint. We're going to be doing group programming, which will allow us to merge anything that we've done separately, talk to each other about any problems that we're encountering, and come up with solutions in each other's presence. We're going to be using Jenkins for continuous integration to ensure that every minor version is tested both through unit testing and functional testing, and can be delivered if required. So the project requirements at a high level are that the advisors and the students need to be able to both create and edit their graduation plans. They need to be able to see at any given time what their graduation plan is, what they've fulfilled as they go, and be able to make changes and have the advisor approve them. The advisors need to be able to manage the requirements of courses, and the administrators need to be able to tell what courses are required, what classes are electives in the department, and or for a specific program. And we're going to talk about the major functional requirements. That's going to be Terrence Sanford.
So just the main core functional requirements that we discovered meeting with our client and talking as a group. A user questionnaire was the big one. So first-time users will log in and they'll be presented with a questionnaire. It will determine which classes that they have taken and which ones they still need to take. It'll ask, for things like Marvin was saying, for AA, DTA, which computer science classes have you taken, how many general education credits do you have left, etc. And then, so users can edit grad plans for approval by advisor. We want them to be able to go in and go to their current plan, change, move classes around, and then submit that to their advisor. The advisor can look it over and then approve it or disallow it. Advisors can search students, so we want them to easily be able to find any student in the database, searching by name. And then so after looking up a student, they'll be able to manipulate their plans any way that they want in order to get the results that they're looking for the plan. The department administrators can also go in and change and edit classes required for a certain program. So like the CS department could go in and add sections to a class or add a new class to the program. So that's up to Marvin for some non-functional requirements.
All right, so our client wanted us to make it platform independent. So since our software is web-based, frequently used browsers such as Internet Explorer and Firefox and Chrome will be able to use our software. Our client also wanted it to be expandable so that it's not totally directed towards CS students and for Central Washington University. Any school can use our software and any department can. He also wanted to have access off campus. To add to the enhancements of our software, we needed to add that functionality so that's more convenient for our users. And he also wanted us to generate a plan quickly. He didn't give us any specific requirements, but he wanted us to just have a student easily go in, create a plan, and let it display. Overall, he gave us the freedom to use any tools and technology that we felt best to meet our solution. Next, I'm going to give it to, it's going to be our demo.
So we've broken our demonstration into 3 basic tasks. The first one is going to be with Terrence Hannaford, and that's adding a class to the database. The second one is going to be with Marvin Evans, which is adding a department to the database. And the third task is the actual process that a student would go through to create a graduation plan. So let me pass this on to Terrence Hannaford.
All right, so, and then our website has been graciously hosted by Derek here. So this is, we go to, just basic kind of website layout right now. If you wanted to go and create a class, you could go to the class menu down here to create a new class. So you just go through your course department, choose which department you'd like the class to be listed under, give it a number and a name. And, some sort of description. And so this would be, an administrator adding a class for use in a program or a department. And 4 credits. Senior standing. You can add some course requirements, things that you would have to take before you could take this class. And the quarters that it is available. And then you just save class. It shows you've successfully saved the class. It shows the information that you inputted. And then you can go to the class list here. And it shows all created classes. And you can see it's been created right there. So I'll pass it on to Marvin.
All right, I'm acting as a system administrator. So I'm going to create a department for you guys today. So when you click on departments, it shows a list of our departments. If we click on one of those, click programs, click the department again, we see the list and the name description. We see the core classes and the focus selectives as well. To create a new department, you click New Department, you give it a short name. So, G and description. Three names. And then all you gotta do is click Create Department. And you see it right there. And you go back to the departments, you see the class that we just made. Alright, so I'm gonna pass it off to Derek for our wizard.
So this is the process that a student would go through in order to create a new graduation plan. So they click Create New Plan, they set their academic year, the quarter they want to start this plan, and what their transfer status is. I'm just going to leave it as not a transfer student. So the first question they're asked is, what classes, as far as general education, have you taken? This person is a freshman, they haven't taken anything. What their program of study is, computer science. Which computer science core classes they've taken? None. And which electives they would like to take for a preliminary plan, in this case, web development. You see that is selecting it, selects in the box its prerequisites. And so they choose 24 units of electives, and their plan is created. It's a very long plan. And now I will discuss the client feedback with Marvin Evans.
So overall, our client was very pleased with our prototype demonstration. We basically showed him exactly what we showed you today, minus a few functionality features that we added recently. We showed the basic UI of our site. We showed functionality such as adding a class, editing a class. We showed the general layout of our plan as well. We gave him a good idea of the look and feel of our site. Overall, communication with our client greatly impacted our successes for our demonstration. Next, Derek will show you some of the project risks.
So we've discovered a few risks, but I only wanted to highlight a very small number of what we would consider to be serious. So user management is usually a problem with a web application. In the case of our web application, we decided to use the CW LDAP server as our backend for authentication, which allows us to not have to worry about users creating accounts, just basically getting them to log in with their group-wise credentials. For data integrity and storage, we have created all of our entities, which are class, department, plan, as revisionable, so that any changes have a history and that deletion is more or less impossible. But in the case of user data corruption or hardware failure, we want to implement a backup strategy that would basically keep the system offline, so in case there is damage that can be quickly repaired. One of the issues that Dr. Schwing suggested or brought up was the administration of the system, and so we are going to make sure that our system is fairly easy to administer, does not require a lot of time or technical expertise in order to manage it. And I'm going to turn it over to Terrence for the conclusion.
Yeah. So in conclusion, our application will streamline the graduation planning process, not only for the CS department, but potentially for any department. It'll do this by creating graduation plans for students before they even meet with the advisor, which will cut down on a lot of time that the advisor has to spend back and forward with students. And then from here, the advisor already has a good base for the plan that each student requires, and will be able to create a graduation plan with minimum tweaking. We're currently focusing on the administration side of the application, setting up functionality for manipulating the application and maintaining it. Our team is on schedule with our estimated workload. We'll be moving on to the user side of the application next quarter, namely focusing on graduation plans, manipulating them, and creating and manipulating. And so we should have no problem finishing the application within the next quarter. Any questions? Yes.
If you're going to sync it with the student there any way that you could also query CAPS report to autofill all that information about what gen eds you took or what CS classes you've already taken?
It could potentially be possible, but I doubt it, because that's sort of the purview of the registration office, and they're a little bit particular about who has access to that kind of information. So we're trying to prevent having too much information that would come under like FERPA laws. So basically the only thing we're storing is their username, or excuse me, their name, their email address, and the way that their plan is laid out. I mean, all the grading and all that stuff, it's the honor system. Kathy.
For your GUI, I noticed that during the demo you were using the mouse to click between the different fields. Have you considered that some people would prefer to use the keyboard and use the tab key, the space bar to do checkboxes, etc.?
Yes.
And do you have that
Yes.
sorted in?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Melissa?
Yes, I wanted to mention prior that your application was supposed to be available like as a non-functional requirement to other universities. So I was just wondering how you're going to implement the different classes if they have different classes that are required.
So the idea that we had in our mind was that they would have their own installation. So basically, it would be something that would be a distributable package, but it wouldn't be hard-coded into a Central Washington University product.
Yeah, we've tried to make it flexible enough and modular that potentially anyone could use it.
So like, for instance, a semester-based system could just make it a semester-based version. Something like that. That's our goal. Dr. Andoni.
Yeah, I was out for a moment. I don't get one point here. Do you also consider the prereqs for each class?
Yes.
Yeah, that's
So,
what I missed. Okay, sorry.
we didn't specify, but if you'd like me to go into it, I can.
No, it's okay. So I'm happy with it.
Dr. Gagasin.
How or what algorithm are you using to create the plan? And the reason
So-
why is if you use a greedy approach, sometimes you get a plan that will be 10 years long.
Right. So basically what we're doing right now, and I don't claim that this is the most efficient algorithm, but it's taking all the course requirements that are specifying, getting all of their course requirements, and then merging it in, sorting it by any given priority, and then attempting to place them in quarters given the constraints. So for instance, you can't place a course that has unfulfilled requirements. So you place them as best you can until you place them all. So yeah, I mean, it could potentially be. I mean, if somebody wanted to take 20 majors, it would take 100 years. I mean, unless there's a lot of overlap. Any other questions? Oh, Kathy has another question. Excuse me, Ms. Moore.
Thank you. For somebody who has said, okay, I want to be a CS major, but that student also goes out and has fun in lots of other departments, and then turns out is pretty close to a bunch of minors but doesn't know this. Will your system be able to say, hey, you're 1 quarter away from 3 minors, might as well stick it out for 1 more quarter?
Potentially, but again, this is on the honor system. We wouldn't be drawing this information from like PeopleSoft. It would be basically if they said I have all these other classes that I'd like to add into that I've completed. I mean, that could potentially be the case. Yeah, you could see that. I mean, there would have to be minors in there, but yeah, that could potentially be done.
I think that would be really cool.
Yeah, another possible functionality that we were thinking about was observing when people hit like senior status and then notifying like the TA administrator for 392 and 492 positions to make that job easier.
Or even when they complete 110, as requested. So, any other questions? Oh, there's another question.
So that Kathy would this be able to handle multiple majors and minors?
Ostensibly, yeah. It would be designed in that way. And you have your hand up back there next to your face?
Yeah.
Yes.
Could you set the years you want? Because sometimes you graduate 3 years and you push yourself, but maybe 4.
The idea is that you would specify the number of credits you're comfortable with in a quarter. So it would try to do it within your constraint. That's how it would do. So for instance, I can do 22 credits. My plan would be a lot shorter. let's just say. And then you have a question, I think we've run out of time.
Can you make it so that it will notify you that you've reached the ability to actually go into a bigger stuff?
That's a potential thing, yeah. Again, it's on the honor system, so somebody would have to say, I've completed these classes, and probably with their advisor, in which the case their advisor would be right there. So.
All right, thank you.